Don in London, hello. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour, or both in my case. My substance of addiction was alcohol, so I'm an alcoholic in recovery, and also behaviour around people, places and things. So in the right place, with the right people, with the right things, I felt I might be alright. No, I thought I might be alright. I didn't feel right. I always felt less than in some way or other, trying to achieve, trying to sustain something. But I didn't know what the something was. I didn't know how to be me. So these days, one day at a time, finding out a little bit more about myself on a daily basis, life works, because I keep on learning. It's all about learning who I am, just in the moment of now. So what helps me on this journey of recovery? Well, family, friends, community, medical people kept me alive long enough and sustained me in recovery, as well as a fellowship. And that fellowship is AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. I don't speak for AA, never can, never will, thank goodness, because it's full of unique, authentic people who speak where they will about their recovery. So I'm a very lucky person, first and foremost to be alive, second to be sober so the rest of life can work. But that doesn't mean it's all up and not down. Life is full of ups and downs. It's just life on life terms these days. And I'm more able to cope on my own, but mostly with the support of the wisdom of other people, finding out what the truth is on a daily basis, and being willing and open about life. And it also means I'm learning how to love others and be loved back, and have a sense of identity and belonging in this one moment. That's all I've got, reality, which I prefer to any other state. So no longer taking the edge off, no longer feeling like I have to fit in or try and think my way through living and being okay. I can feel okay and then think about what to do next. So feelings for me come first. So if I know how I'm feeling, I'm on the right track. And then I can think about what's happening right now and what are my choices. So how does fellowship help me? Well, simply, it's full of wisdom. Fellowship full of wisdom, where there are no rules to obey, no violations of anything to be worried about. A way to learn 12 steps of living and put them into practice. So living the 12-step program gives me freedom. It's not constraining, because once the alcohol is not part of the equation, I can just be crazy old me, mad as a hatter, or sane as can be in the moment. So fellowship, much of what these videos is about. I share readings from AA and a bit about the 12-step program on a daily basis. So May is all about step 5, which is sharing the inventory, which I did in step 4. And it says here, admitted to God, to ourselves and to another human being, the exact nature of our wrongs. But before I talk about that, I'm going to share the AA preamble, which goes like this, because it's really an opening of the door for me. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. So with that in mind, this is part of why I do these videos, but it's just one person's view, mine, and maybe it's informed by other people's viewpoints too, but it's most important for me to say and suggest that what you see is what you get in fellowship. So fellowship meetings always provide me with a better informed truth, a better informed way of how to love others and be loved back, and a better informed way of getting wisdom from other people. It doesn't mean we always hear wisdom from other people. Often we hear, well, I like that, and it could fit into my life nicely as a way to behave and conduct myself, or I don't like that, and I don't want to behave like that, and I don't conduct myself that way in recovery. So what you see is what you get, and you make the best of and stick with the winners like you would do in ordinary life, because in fellowship we're all in different degrees or variations of recovery, and it is a freedom to be ourselves again. So we will find good points and points of interest where we don't want to follow them, and that's the way it ought to be, I feel. But there are no oughts in recovery. In the fellowship we follow what works for ourselves. That's the most important part. So January, all about step 1, being powerless over alcohol and life unmanageable if I drink. Step 2, being restored to sanity by a power greater than me. Simply everything in the world informs me of what it's like to be sober and why sober is preferable. But the higher power, if you like, is whatever it happens to be in the moment of now. And that could be a connection to God, a connection to a fellowship, a connection to a person with wisdom. Wherever it's coming from, it's not coming from inside me. I'm getting it from external sources, if you like. And step 3, which says, made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him, means actually, it's not we understand God to be the same for everybody, it's what you believe God is in your life. And for me, God is truth, love and wisdom, characterised by being informed by outside sources, in my case. So I'm not God, and that's part of it. Humility to learn from others. And then step 4 in April, I covered it was made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. And that fearless moral inventory is about our assets and liabilities. So we all have different assets and liabilities as life affords. And I had plenty of liabilities by the time I got to the fellowship of AA. I discarded everything I knew and I had nothing left inside me to help me get sober. So I was very lucky to be able to listen long enough and to be able to sit still long enough and to be able not to drink on a daily basis long enough that sobriety could stick. And then step 5, which I'm covering this month, admitting to God, to ourselves and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. So we've got things we did right and things that went wrong. And it's not about blame of ourselves or other people, it's just knowing what went wrong and what was my part in it. And then if I share it with another person and God, or the God of your understanding for you in your case, or just plain old good conscience, it's what it's all about. So the summary of this step, which I take from this book, 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, this is my handy little portable version. It says this in the summary, not the full step, but I've covered that in another video which is out there and next door to this one just about. Admitted to God, to ourselves and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. 12 steps deflate ego, and that was my barrier to learning. Ego got in the way. I thought I ought to know the answers, but these days I know I'm better off if I don't know the answers, and it's okay to keep on learning, no matter what people think of that. Step 5 is difficult but necessary to sobriety and peace of mind. Confession is an ancient discipline, and it is a discipline because my natural reaction is, when I may be found out as lacking in some way, to try and brave face it and cover up. But actually the real power in not knowing is saying, I don't know and I need to find out. And that's okay, from the simplest of things which I feel I ought to know but don't, to those things which are very complicated and maybe I do know but find hard to explain, like the 12 steps. Confession is an ancient discipline. Without fearless admission of defects, few could stay sober. What do we receive from step 5? Beginning of true kinship with man and God. Lose sense of isolation. I don't have to be on my own anymore. Receive forgiveness and give it. In other words, stop blaming anything and anybody about how life has turned out. And I'm grateful just to be alive these days, although for a long time I had resentments, which I felt were justified. But nowadays I realise that's just poison in me, and the same justifications may well exist in other people. Yeah. Learn humility. Gain honest and realistic, and gain honesty and realism about ourselves. necessity for complete honesty, danger of rationalisation. Well, it happened because. It doesn't often matter why something is happening, it's what can we do about it now. Results are tranquility and consciousness of God, or serenity sometimes. Oneness with God and man prepares us for the following steps. And that's step 6 to 12, which I'll cover in the next few months. And I like going through the steps because it means that I'm connected to what is keeping me sober and able to see life on life's terms. And then I share the daily reading for May 5th, The Forest and the Trees, from this book. And this book, Daily Reflections, which is an AA literature book, is important to me because it gives me a bit of meditation on a daily basis, a bit like these videos, so that's why I'm sharing it. The Forest and the Trees. What comes to us alone may be garbled by our own rationalisation and wishful thinking. The benefit of talking to another person is that we can get his direct comment and counsel on our situation. So it's about getting feedback on what happened and why we are where we are. And if we do it daily about the things which disturb us, we come to better conclusions that life is just the way it is. And we have choices around that. And often choices are better informed when we have a sounding board or a person we can talk to. So I don't have to be the oracle, and I don't have to know everything. I have to be open to find out. I cannot count the times when I have been angry and frustrated and said to myself, I can't see the forest for the trees, or for wood for trees, as we say more modernly sometimes. I finally realised that what I needed when I was in such pain was someone who could guide me in separating the forest and the trees, who could suggest a better path to follow, who could assist me in putting out fires and help me avoid the rocks and pitfalls. I ask God when I'm in the forest to give me the courage to call upon a member of AA, or in my case it could be a member of the planet, because I know fully, although AA people know exactly why my head starts going into a forest trying to sort out everything and every single connection, when in fact there's one tree most often which needs to be addressed, me. So to God or good conscience it works, and with the benefit of somebody else who knows as well, or who is aware of what step are we trying to deal with in this current situation in our lives, a fellowship member with wisdom of how to live life and who we trust. Don't forget, we are just human beings in fellowship. So I have a large number of friends, and if I'm not sure about something, I can ask one of them or many of them not to look for the answer which I feel is right and I'm going to benefit from, but just to give me feedback on my situation, to the mutual benefit of everybody, and that's humility. And that can be with God in mind too. What is the higher power in this saying to me? What is the truth of my situation? Where is love in this situation? And where is the wisdom in this situation? That's just me. And that serenity prayer, which I end these videos with, the serenity prayer to God, good conscience, whatever it is you understand which helps you, a meditation and reflection, if you like, in any given moment of can do, can't do this, can't do that, wisdom to know the difference. That serenity prayer helps me at all times, in joyful times and also in sad times or angry times. So to God or in good conscience, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference, for me, always, in the moment, and just for today. Don in London, hello, it's May 5th, 2009. My video is all about recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. My substance of addiction, alcohol, my behaviour, addictive. Trying to be perfect. Yeah, perfect. Trying to work as hard as I could and demonstrate my value. Trying to work hard at relationships and demonstrate I could love you or be loved back, and probably not getting the right message and understanding life very well. because I kept on drinking, and the more I drank, the more I sought oblivion, because life was difficult. And it's only now, looking back and feeling some surprise still to be here, given the amount I did drink. And the reason why I'm saying this is I had a question asked of me by someone who has drunk an awful lot in the last 24 hours. And I don't know whether it's good to compare and share, or to make a judgment not to share just how much I used to drink on a daily basis at the final knockings of my drinking. I guess the simple answer is, what was the outcome of my drinking? And that was isolation, exclusion, not able to open the front door, not able to open the post, not wanting to answer the telephone, not wanting to be in other people's company. And I lived on my own in a very, very dark environment, because any amount of daylight reminded me that other people might be having fun, I guess. But my world shrank and shrank until it was only as big as my head. And I assure you, there was an ego inside there as big as the world. And I couldn't understand how to stop drinking on my own. And that was my moment of clarity in the end. Life could not get any worse. I had hit a rock bottom, emotionally, spiritually, physically, in any department you might care to mention, and not be able to cope at all. And as spiritual is often seen as the way to cope, or it's described as the ability to cope with life as it is, the reality of everything. Well, I wasn't able to, but these days now I am able to cope with most of life as it is and present, and how I present to the world. And I do it with support from fellowship, the AA fellowship, Alcoholics Anonymous, and also medical support for other conditions which are not related to drink, but I've got. And also family, community and society. So by the grace of good conscience and finding a way out of this malady with the help and support of everybody in the world who understands that it's nice to be ordinary, I was given a break and got detoxed, went to rehab, hated it, self-discharged, ended up on the streets. All the old stories that you'll hear if you ever go to a fellowship meeting. I guess we've all been there, or we've lost everything and found nothing to start with, nothing inside us. So these days, the amount I used to drink is not the question for me, it's what was the impact on my life. And the answer was, I had no life in the end, except to be a machine drinking and processing alcohol. So these days I just don't drink a day at a time, and it's taken an awful lot of effort from not only me but other people to keep me on track. So AA, the Alcoholics Anonymous Fellowship, has helped me tremendously. Now, I don't speak for it, but I speak about my experience, strength and hope. And somebody also said that you can get the first step quite easily in the 12-step action program of living in recovery, and that is we are powerless over alcohol and life is unmanageable when we drink. And that's absolutely true, because we can't manage a thing when we're drinking to excess and we're isolated, excluded, and sticking two fingers or one finger up at the world, depending on your nationality. So where am I today with this? Well, the question of God keeps coming up, and as I've often said now, that on any given day, given my life experiences, I may doubt myself that I might be an agnostic, an atheist or a God believer, and I take the broadest view of what God could be in my life. That is, God is truth, the absolute truth of now, which is spiritual. God is love, which is the biggest emotion that we have, and everything else derives from it. And God works through people, and some people have more of a clue how to be inclusive and loving than I ever did. And I'm learning all the time just how to be me. So the simple question is God necessary in your life? Well, I can't decide for you, it's up to you. And sometimes there seems to be a pattern emerging for me where people seem to have more clues on how to live than I know. I understand what spiritual is, which is being ordinary and seeing life as it is, life on life's terms. I'm not getting too upset about, is my God a special God only for me? I guess really what I'm saying is nature and providence gives us a set of tools and situations where we can do our best to be happy, or whatever criteria suit you. But AA only does three things. It improves our outlook if we let ourselves have one, spiritually, emotionally and physically. It will not remedy anything to do with the material world, that is money in your bank or any other sort of factors like relationships All it does is offer a better chance to live ordinarily and get those things in life as best we can, but not necessarily to the point of exclusion of all other aspects of life. So it's about balance. So there we are, a bit of a thing about God for me. And God is, as you understand, your own unique, authentic take, whether there is one or there isn't one. Does not affect how the 12 steps can help a person keep sober, make life work and be a part of, rather than excluded and dead a lot sooner than we might wish. Don't forget, most alcoholics want to be dead, or rather they don't want to be dead, they just don't want to wake up with the same old problems over and over again. So it takes an awful lot of effort and acceptance around how to get well. AA, I'll share the preamble which is said at each meeting, and then do the daily readings I do. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And that last sentence, which is, our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety, also means that it's just achieving sobriety, and then the rest of it is up to us. And I don't speak for AA or people in it, because every single person who goes to AA is a unique, authentic person. And hopefully, even though they go into meetings and get a better understanding of how to keep sober, they still remain unique, authentic people with a unique, authentic outlook to be a part of our society, community and families. So, it won't do anything about your attitudes and behaviour relating to life as life happens, but it will actually help improve our attitudes and behaviour to what is going on a daily basis, I guess. So we can't get over prejudice with this, and the biggest prejudice we have to overcome is being ill from an affliction or a disease which is out to kill us. Because if, as the person explained to me earlier on their question, the amount they are drinking is probably quite destructive to their physical condition, let alone anything else. So, goodness me, not much time left. Daily reflections for today, and month 5 is about step 5, which is about sharing our good and bad with another human being, so we have a better understanding of not being alone with the things we have had to endure over the years. So for May 5th, it says here, the forest and the trees. What comes to us alone may be garbled by our own rationalisation and wishful thinking. The benefit of talking to another person is that we can get his direct comment and counsel on our situation, and that's about sharing our assets and liabilities with another person. I cannot count the times when I have been angry and frustrated and said to myself, I can't see the forest for the trees. I finally realised that what I needed when I was in such pain was someone who could guide me in separating the forest and the trees, who could suggest a better path to follow, who could assist me in putting out fires and help me avoid the rocks and pitfalls. I asked God, the God of your understanding, not mine, when I'm in the forest, to give me the courage to call upon an AA member, or a member of AA. And so clear to me is, we're looking for the experience, wisdom and hope which keeps us going when our own resources have taken us, our thinking has got us into the malady, and our feelings and emotions with wisdom keep us out of the malady and back into the solution. And I'll leave as Bill sees it for now, simply because time is against me. So today, I don't want to judge anybody. I just want to be able to see what life is. And what helps me see what life is, acceptance of my situation and outlook. So when I use the serenity prayer, either to God or good conscience, exhorting, God, grant me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change, courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference is simply for one day. And that's how the 12 steps work, one day only. DonInLondon, good morning, and it's May 5th, Bank Holiday Monday, 2008. and it's quite quiet. I've got my windows open at the moment, and the odd car will go past, and hopefully the police station won't need to set off in a police car with the sirens going in the next 10 minutes or so. And an interesting 24 hours for me. I've been trying to do some updates on my computer, and I realise now that although a lot of programs are installed, they won't work properly unless you defragment your hard drive frequently to make sure there's enough room for them all to work as they may. So I downloaded a program I haven't used for a while to defragment my C drive, and it seems to me that it's going to take it an awful long time, and it says anything up to 2 days. So I recommend that anybody with a control panel goes to the different programs for maintaining your computer and defragments on a regular basis. Otherwise you end up with a computer which can't do very much. So mine's, I don't know where it is with it, but I've paused it long enough that this program will work, hopefully. And I went to lunch with my sister and mother yesterday, and it was a beautiful lunch, and the best of company, always. And as a result of it, I've discovered that because I don't eat red meat very often, it certainly backfires on me when I do. And my system is no longer used to eating meat in any quantity, which is a good thing because it's not meant to. But the adverse effect, because I use synthetic insulin because I'm type 1 diabetic, it doesn't go together too well, and it caused me a bit of a problem for an hour or two yesterday. I just felt really off, very hot, palpitations and all the usual things which go with disagreeable moments in life. And these days I don't drink, so I can't drink myself out of it, with alcohol obviously. And having been in the best of company in the afternoon, I came back, and I'm still trying to make my power shower doesn't work at the moment. I think it's because it's having a day off being a bank holiday. And these things are small things in life compared to the big thing, which is keeping sober and making life work, just as it may be. And I went to a meeting of one of my favourite meetings, where I do the Treasury, and that's Leather Street at 7:30 in the evening on a Sunday night. And being a bank holiday, we had lots of visitors. And the co-secretary had picked or asked somebody to do the chair of her before, and they are so gifted in sharing their experience, strength and hope. And the best gift is to do with just being themselves, and by trial and error, and picking up how to live a life without drink, and be accepting of being just human-sized, and that's one size, the equal of anybody else, and we are equal to them. So it was really magnificent, really. And my sponsor was there. I had no idea he was going to be there. And he was about checking on the newcomers, because this is what people, old-timers, do. Check who are the newcomers, and then make sure that they're getting some sort of conversation going before the meeting, so they feel welcome. And he is absolutely superb. He knows just how to pitch things. And I think he must have been a salesman, although I don't know for sure. But he pitches things in a way that the person who is not too keen on being there in the first place starts to feel at ease in the company of other people who just want to stay sober. And there was much humour in the meeting, and I added my own little bit here and there as well. It's good to be able to go and be a part of. And everybody was considerate, actually, last night, considerate of other people who needed to share their story, to an extent, although one or two people did go on a lot, pointing the finger. And two words came to mind this morning: piety and sanctimony. I looked them up on the Encarta. So piety, conventional or hypocritical statement or observance of belief, and sanctimony, holier than thou. And those are two things I don't want to be. I don't want to be pious, and I don't want to be sanctimonious, because the gift of recovery is just to be ordinary sized. And the reason why I spread my message around the internet from YouTube is not to make me look good. It's to share experience, strength and hope that at least one person may consider going to AA, as a way forward, or if it's not AA, that's also okay, because whatever way forward takes us back to sobriety when we're addicted, and this is only for those people who are addicted, AA is not the only way, but it's a way I found where you've got community, social interaction, and an opportunity to be in good company and stop watching TV. So, it all works gradually, and there is no fast track to sobriety. I think that's well put for the title, there is no fast track. And it's just a daily way of living and getting on, trying to be our ordinary selves and not get too upset by what life throws at us, or if there are joyful moments, to be able to experience the joy without any sort of feeling of guilt or shame, because a lot of what happens with addiction involves guilt and shame, and as we come out of it, how to live and be able to interact with what's going on a daily basis in a safe way, in a way which is just enough self-esteem for that day. So, anyway, some daily readings. This book, A Day at a Time, May 5th, and the 5th month is all about the 5th step, really, in the background, which is about expression and sharing our life story with another person from our step 4 inventory, the fearless moral inventory. So, May 5th, the forest and the trees. What comes to us alone may be garbled by our own rationalisation and wishful thinking. The benefit of talking to another person is that we can get his direct comment and counsel on our situation. 12 Steps and 12 Traditions, page 60. So it's all about expression. I cannot count the times when I have been angry and frustrated and said to myself, I can't see the forest for the trees. I finally realised that what I needed when I was in such pain was someone who could guide me in separating the forest and the trees, who could suggest a better path to follow, who could assist me in putting out fires and help me avoid the rocks and pitfalls. I asked God, or in my case, good conscience, when I'm in the forest, to give me the courage to call upon a member of AA. And it can be my sponsor, or it can be somebody who I know has experienced the same things. And it's about sharing and getting it out. And sometimes people say a problem shared is a problem halved, and then other people say too many cooks spoil the broth. And it's a judgment call which may we go with any particular aspect of our living. And now for As Bill Sees It, page 1553, Without Anger. Suppose AA falls under a sharp public attack or heavy ridicule, having little or no justification in fact. Our best defence in these situations would be no defence whatever, namely complete silence at the public level. If in good humour we let unreasonable critics alone, they are apt to subside the more quickly. If their attacks persist and it is plain that they are misinformed, it may be wise to communicate with them privately in a temperate and informative way. If, however, a given criticism of AA is partly or wholly justified, it may be well to acknowledge this privately to the critics, together with our thanks, but under no condition should we exhibit anger or any punitive intent. This is important because this is going up on YouTube. What we must recognise is that we exalt in some of our defects. Self-righteous anger can be very enjoyable. In a perverse way, we can actually take satisfaction from the fact that many people annoy us. It brings a comfortable feeling of superiority. And the reason why I had to pause there was it was just coming up to the end of the time with the preamble, and I just suddenly saw the time was against me. When it comes to anger and what other people think or feel about AA, I always feel now, and I'm learning, because sometimes I do feel defensive, that to accept where people are coming from and then work with how to deal with it on a daily basis and with good conscience